Good afternoon. Lieutenant Colonel Richard Hecht, the IDF International Spokesperson. Thanks for having me here at the government press office. I'm going to give you a quick brief and zoom in on some exclusive data that we want to release today to the press. So just for some general context before I start, as you all remember, we had a humanitarian pause for a week. Hostages were coming out, and during that timeline there was increased aid going into Gaza. Hamas violated the pause. They fired rockets and they violated our hostage agreement. Following this violation, we resumed our military operations in Gaza on Friday morning. Our missions remain the same: to bring back all our hostages and to dismantle Hamas's military and governing capabilities. And also, very important for us to restore security to Israel's borders, also in the south and also in the north. After Hamas broke the pause, Hezbollah also went back to firing, as well from Lebanon. Not only from Lebanon, but also other Iranian proxies in other arenas too. We are still defending our civilians in multiple fronts. Our focus remains on Gaza. But again, we're not losing our sight in the broader region. Since the hostilities have returned, we're expanding our operations against Hamas across all of Gaza. We're targeting operatives, infrastructure, and mainly the tunnel network. So far, we have located over 800 tunnel shafts and destroyed 500 of these. The level of fortification is unprecedented. While we've been operating, we are ensuring that there is minimum harm to civilians, with soldiers on the ground going from building to building. I spent the last 2 days in a very, very special cell in our Southern Command. It's the harm mitigation cell in Beersheba in the command. And I want to talk about a few aspects of what I learned while I was down there. We've been making, again, with everything we have at in our capabilities, every effort we can to facilitate the movement of civilians in the south in order to mitigate civilian casualties. Our best efforts and minds are focused on understanding the human terrain in Gaza. Just to give you a taste of it, this map is based, and again, we've talked about this in press releases, and we've talked about these zones, these areas, and every zone has a color which is based on intelligence, on human, on SIGINT, on every capability that we have to understand the human landscape in these zones and try and make movements and ask for people to move in order to minimize harm to these civilians. It's an interactive map, it's a breathing map, and it changes based on how the war is developing on the ground. We have ways to communicate with the people inside these zones. It's leaflets, it's through the internet, through our spokesperson to the Arab community, Lieutenant Colonel Avichai Drai. Just today I looked into the website, his website. There's been 250,000 people that have logged into that website from their areas, so we see that it's being used. We are still maximizing the humanitarian aid going into Gaza, and even despite the end of the pause, 180 trucks went in to Gaza yesterday, with 2 diesel tankers within that amount of trucks. We're still checking all the trucks at Nitzana before they go through to Rafah, and we're doing everything we can to set the conditions for the humanitarian zone in the Al-Muasi coastline. Again, I repeat, and this is important, we keep saying this in every brief, we are at war with Hamas, not the people of Gaza. I saw this, I was in Southern Command for 2 days, I saw these efforts, I sat in briefings also from our COGAT people and also from the commander of this harm mitigation cell. Every effort we have, we're putting into this. Now I want to zoom into some specific data. It's a case study of a certain arena that we fought in, the Shati arena. And I want to give you all a taste of the battle zone, what it looked like. And we actually, with one of our very, very smart producers, went in and with a battalion commander and created some footage based on their lessons learned and what they actually met when they went into a certain area. Before, and I'll show shortly how we did it in Shati. We saw that their infrastructure was embedded inside civilian areas, which I'll show also shortly. And let's move ahead. So here you can see again how when you look at their order of battle, what it actually looked like. Again, they have a full formation just like a regular military. There was the Gaza Brigade, the Northern Gaza Brigade with battalions. And again, we're talking about the Shati battalion inside the Gaza Brigade. You can see also the area on the coastline. Next slide, please. And just to give you a glimpse into the timeline, again, these are the main events. This was day-to-day battle, but just the main events in our battle timeline. So on October 24th, we killed the deputy commander of the Shati battalion, Khalil Muhajiz. On November the 10th, the IDF troops secured one of their strongholds, the Badr stronghold, which was one of their main strongholds. I'll show it shortly on the map. On November 12th, after we secured that area, we secured an evacuation route for civilians. Sadly, Hamas fired at the civilians moving on that route, and we fired back. On November 14th, we obtained operational control of Shati, the whole region of Shati, after getting the help of our Air Force and the 215th Brigade. On December the 3rd, we killed the Shati battalion commander, Haitham Houawajari, in a joint operation. Now, what it looked like, just in a sort of basic infographic on the map, we entered this, the 162 division from the north and slowly and methodologically moved south with infantry and armor, which basically brought us to the Shifa hospital, which was inside the Shati battalion's region. This is the commander of the Shati battalion. And again, this gives you a taste, again, of what we're up against in these regions. This will also happen also in Sajaiya and Jabalia. It's happening now as we speak. Now, I'm going to show you a video. I'll let the video talk for itself. If you can just move ahead a bit. We're talking about the outskirts of Al-Shati. And now, again, this is just a first taste of what it looked like. We'll be doing in-depth lessons learned as the war moves ahead. But just to give you all a taste of what this thing is going to look like, this is a sort of zoom in into the outskirts of Al-Shati. We're going to hear the battalion commander shortly. Again, the landscape, the size, and the dimensions. We'll stop here. Here, move ahead a bit. You can see here, again, the cynical use of civilian infrastructure and what the commanders were up against when they went in to fight the Hamas strongholds. I'm going to let the movie talk for itself.
מקומות תמימים, כמו בתי ספר, גני
Here you can see
ילדים,
one of the battalion
מוסדות
commanders.
חינוך, שבפועל מהווה מעוז למחבלים. אפשר לראות פה, בסמוך לאיתור, את בית ילדים, מרחב של נדנדות וקרוסלות, שזה נראה לנו על הנייר משהו מאוד תמים ופשוט, ובפועל גם מפה התבצע ירי, מכל מיני מקומות שיצאו מהם פירים. כל השטח הזה הוא מהווה מערכת אחת של האויב שמתקשרים דרך התת קרקע אל כיוון הגנים בבתי הספר. אני רוצה להראות לכם פה את הכניסה לגן
Again, you
ילדים.
can see the kindergarten
נראה
here. You
לנו
can see
כמו
the
מקום
this is
תמים
after the
לחלוטין,
fight was over.
שבפועל זאת עמדה לניהול לחימה. היה פה ממש חמ"ל בתוך המשרד של המנהלת, שבתוכו מנהלים לחימה ומפעילים פה את כל המערכת. ופה, ממש פה, במקום הזה, נמצאו אמצעי לחימה רבים, ועוד תשתיות של חמאס, שממש עזרו להם להכין את כל המערכת שדיברתי עליה מקודם. טוב, אז אנחנו נמצאים בעצם מתחת למבנה, שבתוכו יש פיר בקומת המרתף. המבנה הזה הוא מבנה שמיועד לטובת ייצור של אמצעי לחימה, ממש מחרטות שנמצאו פה, פיר שממנו יוצאים מחבלים, בתי ספר, גנים, הכל במתחם אחד. הבית ספר הזה, שהוא נראה כמו בית ספר עם כיתות ומקומות שלומדים בהם וכולי, זה מקום שבתוכו היה מחרב שבוצע ירי מתוך המבנים, ממש מתוך הכיתות, לעבר כוחותינו. כל הקומות האלה בעצם היוו עמדות לחימה למחבלים שהגיעו למקום הזה, התארגנו בתוך המקום הזה וניסו לפגע בכוחותינו מתוך מתחם בית הספר. יש פה תשתיות ממש מוכנות להתקפה.
When we were there, the green map I was talking about, the map, the interactive map, most of the civilians were out.
ממש שטח כינוס למחבלים. במקביל לבית הספר, ממש בצמוד אליו, ניתן לראות מגדל של בניין מגורים, שפשוט משם המחבלים מתצפתים על כוחותינו, מסמנים לתוך הכוחות שבתוך בית ספר, ומנסים פשוט לראות לכיווננו תוך כדי התקדמות. במקביל לבית ספר הזה ממולו, אפשר לראות בית ספר נוסף, שבעצם מקיים הדדיות בין שני המבנים, ובעצם בחיבור ביניהם הם מהווים גם תצפית אחד לשני, וגם חיפויים אחד לשני מתוך בית הספר. אפשר לראות פה נקודה שנראה כמו חדר מגורים רגיל, או חדר שינה, ובתוכו ממש יש מחסן אמל"ח שמשמש את המחבלים, וזה שימוש ציני במקומות אזרחיים, שככה בעצם עובדים הטרוריסטים. צה"ל נכנס לפה אחרי שפינינו את כל האוכלוסייה האזרחית, ומה שקורה פה בסוף, שכל העמדות האלה של בתי הספר, וכל המקומות של הגני ילדים, וכל המקומות שבהם נראים על פניו אזורים תמימים, בפועל היווה כן למחבלים, ופשוט מה שקורה פה זה שלא ישאירו לנו ברירה, אלא להילחם בתוך מרחבים אזרחיים.
Okay, so that gives you, again, it's a sort of generic taste. And again, it left us no choice. We had to go in and tackle Hamas in that very, very urban area. Again, sending also our filmmakers into this to explain to the world what we're up against. And we don't have any other alternative. Again, when we look again at the map, the Shati, when we went into the Shati area, 75% of the population already were out of there. And it's a dynamic between operating and also making sure that we move civilians away from harm.